Terrorism might not be the dominant theme when Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee arrives in Washington for his meeting with President Clinton, but it will be a dominant issue. You simply cannot escape it if somehow Indo-Pak dialogue is going to be one of the subjects. I discussed some of these issues with Karl Inderfurth, Assistant Secretary of State for South Asia. I met him in his office in Washington. Welcome to Worldview India, Rick.
Thank you.
Now, if you were to explain to the Indian public the importance of this visit of Prime Minister Vajpayee, what would you say?
Well, I think we'll be building on the very successful visit of President Clinton to India in March. I think that both countries realize that the time was now ripe for our countries to move together into the 21st century, and we had the vision statement talking about the relationship we want in the 21st century. And I think that this visit by the Prime Minister demonstrates that we're quite serious about that, and we're not going to let time slip away. We realize we have an election coming up, but we believe that this trip will further solidify the newer and closer relationship that we have, and that can then be built on by the next administration.
Now, would you consider the Joint Working Group on Terrorism as one of the high points in this evolution of relationship between these two countries?
Oh, I think that's critical. It is clearly one of the threats that the international community will face in the 21st century. And for the United States and India to be working much closer on that common threat is, I think, a critical element of the relationship that we want.
Recently, there has been this offer of ceasefire by the Hizbul Mujahideen, which the Indian government accepted. And in fact, the Home Secretary flew into Srinagar almost instantly, and the dialogue was started, and then it was scuttled. Now, how do you see this scenario evolve?
Let me first say that the United States clearly has been encouraged by steps being taken. The Hizbul Mujahideen's offer of a ceasefire and the very quick positive response from the Indian government we were encouraged by. The earlier release by the Indian government of several Kashmiris from prison, that we thought was a positive step. There has been some decrease of firing along the line of control. That's a positive step. I would not make too much of the U.S. role in this.
General Ayub Khan, for instance. Now, he did not have this sort of clergy breathing down his neck. It was an Islamic state even then, but it was a moderate Islamic state. General Pervez Musharraf has got this very committed clerical group both in the army, in the ISI, and the 16 group Jihad Council, all of these people breathing down his neck, almost controlling his actions. Where do we go from here?
We are urging General Musharraf, who is under a great deal of pressure and those groups breathing down his neck, as you put it. We believe that has to be addressed soon, and that it would be better to do it now than later.
Rick, Indians in the U.S. or Americans of Indian origin, I've just been to the Silicon Valley, and you have had things like 28,000 Indian millionaires in the space of 5 years. Why do you think has this miracle happened now?
Ability, intelligence, hard work. Riding, California is not only known for Silicon Valley, it's also known for surfing. And surfing, you have the big wave, and if you catch that wave, you can have a wonderful ride. And clearly, many Indian Americans have caught that wave, and they have a great ride that they're taking, as are many other Americans. But we do see a very important contribution being made by those of Indian origin. It's quite something to see.
This is President Clinton's swan song, Mr. Vajpayee's arrival in the U.S., this prime ministerial visit.
Well, he's nearing the end of his term in office, but there's no discussion about his being a lame duck, at least within the administration. We believe that he will, until the very last day that he is in office, continue to fly very high. So this lame duck is still very active.
And you will be without a job yourself. You've been a journalist in the past. Would you consider a terrific offer from Worldview India?
I would have to I would give that very serious consideration, of course. I would be honored to be even considered. For those of us that have had the
point I'm making, will you get back to journalism?
Nothing that I've done in the past or will do in the future is ruled out. The fact is that this has been, for all of us working in South Asia for the last 3.5 years, a fascinating experience. And I think we've had an opportunity to make a contribution to some lasting achievements, including the relationship that we're moving forward with India today. And it's been very satisfying. And I am also convinced that that there is we're talking a lot about legacy for the future of the President, the Secretary of State, and others. And I think that trying to address our relationship with India, put it on a firm foundation for the future, is part of that legacy.
Well, thank you very much, Rick.
Okay.